Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Q&A session today. So let me just let everybody else in here and we will get started. Okay, cool. So to kick things off, does anybody feel like kind of sharing some of the biggest takeaways or one of the biggest lessons they've taken away so far from this? Don't be shy.
This is Alicia Zanelli.
Hi, Alicia, how are you?
I'm just fine. And no, I just wanted to say that there are several takeaways, actually. You know, the explanation of the brain with the body has been so clear. I saw it before, but maybe this time I'm not ready for it. I understood the paradigm, and that's what I am after, my
Good.
paradigms. Yeah, because especially with these 2 years of recession, I think, you know, claustrophobic, I procrastinate more than usual. I live in procrastination, so that's my most important takeout, I think.
Good. You know, and that's such a good point to bring up. I think when you study this material, it's not about studying the material, it's about studying yourself. So it's about having those aha moments. So you recognizing that you're procrastinating, you know, that's when you can actually change things, you know, because it doesn't matter how much of this you study and how much you know and how much you can answer right. It's about how are you living, and your results will always tell you the truth. They'll tell you whether or not you're applying these principles or not. And sometimes that's not an easy pill to swallow. You know, you got to kind of put the ego aside, but at the end of the day, results will always tell you the truth.
Yeah. No, and the interesting part is that by nature, I was trying to ask a couple of friends with whom I have shared this. I said, if you just call me once a week and ask me, or whenever we talk, tell me, what have you done towards this? And but they don't, you know, I want to make a commitment, but they don't want to take it, you know, because I do it in exchange, you know, you want this and I want that, and it has not worked. Yeah. So no, I know that I have to be accountable to somebody, but I have failed on that also, because maybe I have to go to a larger pool of, you know, and so no, that's it for me. Thank you.
Yeah, no, of course. Thank you for sharing. And, you know, this is why it's so important that you get surrounded by other, you know, like-minded people that are also trying to grow themselves, because quite honestly, that's not the masses. You know, most people are stuck. They don't know they're stuck. So you got to get around. And this is, in my opinion, one of the best environments you can be around. You know, you're not going to have more supportive people trying to push you forward, because again, I think at the end of the day, no matter what you want to create or what you want to do, I think everybody needs that support system, and not just from a strategy standpoint, you know, but also people that can help push you forward, right? When your paradigm tries to bring you back. So I think this is a phenomenal atmosphere to find those kind of people that can also, you know, help keep you on track. But the truth is, and I used to have this discussion with Bob all the time, your best accountability partner is your goal. So if you're obsessed with the goal, I'm telling you, that's what's going to keep you on track. It's just you got to get so locked into what you really want. So again, thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate it. All right, let's go to, so I know, is it To? How are you?
I'm good, Chris. Good to see you.
Good to see you or hear you.
Yes. Quite a number of things, actually. For somebody who is in the personal development field, myself, um, there's some things you know or you thought you knew, but then, hearing them again reinforces certain things and also helps you to see areas where there are, like gaps, even in your own life. Sometimes you can be so busy developing others that sometimes you need to also sit down and be taught some of the things you're teaching others. And so for me, it's been like a kind of reinforcement session, um, you know, because I've gone back. Sometimes I'm not able to follow the sessions as they are playing, and I've had to go back. And I think I find it even more useful that way because now doing a replay, actually helps me to sit down, not be busy, not be distracted doing some other things, but actually sit down and get the lessons that are being taught. And one of the things that have actually come home to me in all of this is that ultimately, just like you said, your results are a harvest of your person. Let me just, those are me putting it in my own words. You don't do what you are told. Or what you do is not the assignment. What you do is really you. You bring you to the table when, uh, and that would determine the kind of outputs you eventually get. Um, and over the years, I have reinforced this to some of my clients that look, some of the people I deal with, some of the people I coach, that people you don't train people to perform better until you have trained them to become better. They must become better versions of themselves every day before they can deliver better performance on the job. But quite a number of times, what is done in the corporate sector is there's so much emphasis on people performing, delivering, whatever you call key deliverables. And, the focus is so much on that the people who are supposed to deliver those things themselves don't become better individuals. So there's a lot of frustration, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of, misconception, and people feel like they're being used without being helped. But when people can function as stakeholders, they carry the vision even higher than the organization, because now they're bringing themselves into the job.
That's
And
right.
that makes a lot of difference. They are now working like people who are stakeholders who see where the whole thing is going because they are flowing with it. The thoughts are in alignment with the work that they do. And that's, so a whole lot of this for me, like I said, has been sort of reinforcement of setting values. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And I agree with you. I think my background, I mean, I spent 15 years working in the technology industry, and I worked for some of the largest companies in the world. And, one of the things I see missing in the corporate world is the development of the people. Sometimes, again, the training is more designed to get them to know more stuff. It doesn't really get them to do more things. So I think if especially if there's any business owners on here, I think it would serve you very, very well to let your employees grow, right? To develop them, let them expand. I was working with a client of mine who owns a law firm, a law practice, and he's got two offices, one here in I live in Arizona, so in Phoenix, and he's got one in Las Vegas. And this is probably 3 or 4 years ago. And, he's doing pretty well. He's doing about 1.8 million a year, but looking to grow. And I told him, I said, look, if you're going to grow your company, you got to develop your people. And within 6 months of bringing this into his company, they were up to about $1 million a month within 6 months, right?
Wow.
Because I'm telling you, like, most companies don't realize their best untapped resources are already within, even within PGI. I mean, you have people like Mikey, You know, you got Corey Kelly, who runs our consultant division. You know, when she first came in, she was a dental hygienist. She took over our Facebook account, got it over 1 million people. And just, again, we all have this unexplored talent and ability. It's just most of us don't ever allow ourselves to do it. We don't express it. We don't grow. You know, but that's the core of everything we're teaching here is you got everything you already need inside. We're just going to help bring it out. So thank you. Thank you again for sharing.
Thank you very much.
All right. Is it Daya?
Okay.
How are you? Can you hear me? Oh,
Hello,
there you go.
it's Dia.
Dia.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Can y'all hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, I had hit the wrong button. I just wanted to share that my takeaway really was about the repetition that was mentioned in several of the broadcasts. I've taken this challenge several times, but this time around, it really just hit me about what Bob means by the repetition, because I kind of slacked off this time and I didn't do the activities because I was participating in several other challenges that I didn't realize were all in the same few days.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, I still made a point to show up and listen to the live videos when they were broadcasting. And what that did for me was just give me reminders of the things that I have learned, but I have not implemented. And so like when Bob said, you just look at your life, look at the results that you're getting in your life to see where you're at. I was like, okay, now I know why I needed the repetition. So that's what I wanted to share. And again, my name is Dia, and I'm just happy to be a part of this group. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. It's funny because yesterday I was reading a quote that said we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. And that's it. That's the importance of repetition. You know, again, a lot of us already know what we should be doing. You know, it's more so a question of why aren't we doing it? You know, so thank you. Well, good. So let's go ahead and get started here. So, you know, this is dedicated for you guys. So, you know, if anyone has some questions that they want me to answer, you know, feel free to raise your hand. You can ask it directly, or you can also type in the chat. And maybe also I want to introduce Hader. So Hader is my assistant. He's on this call as well. So Hader, if you wouldn't mind fielding if there's some questions in the chat as we get into this. But let's go ahead and start with, so Mike, I see you got your hand raised. How are you, Mike?
Oh, hey, I'm good, Chris. How are you?
Good to talk to you again.
Hey, you too. Hey, I guess I got one question, but first I'd like to say I've been you know, plugged into the YouTube videos and everything for quite a while now, and it seems like I'm, you know, looking for the answer. And I mean, I've really realized, and you even told me this on the last conversation that we had, that you've got to plug into the mentorship program of some kind or one of the courses to actually learn how to implement the information. Because and then I can't think of what her name was. She mentioned that today too, that the answer is not on YouTube. And so which brings me to, okay, decision, you know, Mike, make a stupid decision, you know, make it. And that's the hard part for me. And but I think, you know, you could listen to this stuff forever and not get to the, you know, get to where you want to be with all of it. So but my question is, I mean, very basic, how do you, other than walking around with a wad of cash or dressing really nice, dressing like the person you want to become, how do you think and project yourself and act like the person that you want to become?
So the best way to do that, you work backwards from the goal, right? So you get clear on what you really want. You ask yourself, okay, the person that would be doing this, because I remember you're in insurance, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So think about it like this. Let's say the goal is to get to 100,000 a month. Okay, so think of someone in your industry, someone in your business is earning 100,000 a month. Okay, it's not just about how they're dressing, you know, because to me, I think dressing better makes you feel better, right? So it puts you in a better place. So I think there's a lot of value in that. But it's more so, it goes deeper than that. It's like, okay, what would the person that's earning this kind of money, how would they conduct themselves? How would other people perceive them? What are the qualities, the characteristics, right? So it's almost like you gotta literally become that person. And I think this is such a good question, Mike, because I think people think, okay, I gotta study and do the personal development to become that person. And no, the truth is you gotta accept that idea. You gotta live from that place right now, and you gotta do everything like that person now. See, and it's almost like you're lying to yourself, right? But the truth is, right now, all of us, including myself, all of us are operating off of an image that we hold of ourselves on the inside. It's your identity. And that's determining what you do. So it controls the habits that you have, right? And then it's like this feedback loop, because the habits you have creates the result, and you keep seeing that result, and you keep seeing yourself, I'm that person. And the truth is, that's the old image, right? And we live our life from that place. We live from that identity. So this is why I tell people, like, when we give these assignments to write out the image of the person that you intend to become, like, this is not some basic stuff here. This is not easy stuff. Like, you really got to put some energy. You got to put some thought into this, you know, because otherwise, if we don't do this, and going back to what we were talking about, we got to be reminded, because yes, like on these 5 days, everybody's going to leave here on a high. But what happens a week from now when you're away from this and you're not doing this every day? See, so going back to what you were talking about from mentorship, that's the value of it. And look, I think that all the information is already here. You can absolutely learn from all these YouTube videos and learn from all these lessons. But the problem is people don't know how to put the pieces of the puzzle together. So it's like we study this, that's really good. Then we go study self-image, that's really good. We go study somebody else, that's really good. But it just creates more chaos and confusion in the mind, where we don't know how do I put this together? How do I actually put this together to actually change my life? And I think that's where most people are stuck, including myself. I was stuck there for a long, long time.
Okay.
So does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, I would tell you, Mike, just write. Like, sit down and really write. This might take you time. Like, sit down at the qualities and the characteristics of the person that would achieve your goal. Think about, okay, how do I want people to perceive me? Think about, like, for you, because I'm assuming you do presentations and things like that, like, see yourself going in there, a very confident person, like, so effective. I effectively communicate the value of my service. Like, you gotta really put some thought into this. And I would tell you the best way to do that is to write it out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's go to, how about Ruth?
Hi, Chris and everybody. Oh, by the way, FYI, my twin sister is on here too. So, you know, we think alike. Anyway, you know, I saw Bob, I don't know, 15 years ago, when I didn't know what I wanted, but I thought he had great ideas, right? And since 2008, I've been studying neuroscience. And this is so bizarre, because I decided to get a business-related practical application helping people make better decisions. And just the other day, I was thinking, who was it who said that good decision makers make decisions quickly and don't change them? And I'm looking through all my books, because I've got lots of books, and I couldn't figure it out. And then, oh my God, it's Bob. You know, so I'm wondering, so the fact that I was about to start this new business, helping people improve their brain function to make better decisions, to avoid burnout and get back from it and that sort of thing. Is it that I can combine these two things together? Is that how it works?
So I'm not sure I understand the question. So you're asking,
well,
can you ask it one more time?
Oh, okay. Can I combine the ideas of Proctor Gallagher with my own ideas about how to improve your brain function?
Absolutely.
You know, to be able to make, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's what makes it you. See, like I always tell people, even like our consultants, like people that get into this business, like don't try and be Bob. You're not Bob, be you, right? So bring your awareness, your knowledge, your background, your experience, your energy, because that's what people will connect with. Like, but yeah, absolutely. I would bring the two together, you know, because that's what makes it unique. That's what makes it you.
And how, because I'm not familiar with the program, just the ideas, but not the program, I know you're probably going to explain this in a couple minutes, but do you have a general sense, or if you jump in, how long it takes? Well, two questions. How long it takes to get it going if you're committed to it, to start earning money, since I have a whole bunch of debt and a day job I really want to get rid of. So that's question number one. And number two, oh gosh, it just flew away from me. Answer number one, and I'll remind myself of number two.
Sure. So you're talking about the consultancy. So that's what Kim, who spoke today, that's what she is doing. So like with this, I mean, everything we do in this is very much in harmony with what we teach. So just meaning we don't want you to sit back and get certified and then go start building the business. Like we want you out there in your first week, getting out there and starting to get clients, which that's a scary idea for most people. But, you know, I always tell people, look, the key to all success is momentum. So it's the quicker you get out there and start getting the clients, it puts you on the line to learn, okay, how do I teach lesson number one, lesson number two, lesson number three? So you're always going to be one step ahead of your client. And this is what I think PGI has done such a great job at. And I've been through the consultancy training. So I did this a long time ago. And like momentum is everything. Like it's either working for us or it's working against us. So this is why I tell people, when you have an idea of something you want to do, like that's why you got to make a quick decision on act on it. Because if you don't, you know, the paradigm is going to bring you back to comfort and safety. You're going to come up with all these logical reasons of why it can't work. You know, so you just want to make a move on it. But going back, go ahead.
Yeah. So I would, because I know a lot of information, great information. I ran a class 5 years ago, proof of concept, but I haven't worked with, I decided I want to work with individuals to start with before I go corporate down the road. But I haven't done that yet to get case studies, you know, and
yeah, you don't need them. We already have them. Like we already have all the case studies,
but
testimonials.
I need case studies for my part of it, not for your part of it.
Well,
you know?
I would use this, right? And then you build the case studies from what you create. So like I always tell people, in fact, Arash mentioned this, I think it was yesterday. It's like you can borrow other people's belief until we believe it ourselves, right? So we can borrow that belief. So my advice, if you're going to go this direction, you start to build the business, you start to teach the parts that you want to teach from what you know, right? And you start to gain those testimonials from that. Right. So it's almost like you're bringing the two together, but it's creating one brand, which is you. You're the brand.
Well, I understand, but I'm saying your part is already known and it works, and that's great. My part, there's somebody that I told them in 3 weeks, once I finish my certification in applied neuroscience, then he and I are going to start working together. And I want to see if in the part that I deliver on my own stuff, if there's anything missing. I haven't tested the waters with that yet. And that's what I'm saying is, I don't want to be totally your stuff. I want to be doing my stuff.
No, I get it. I get it.
Right about to start testing it with, you know, just a handful of people to you know, finesse it so that I feel more comfortable and I can say this works and I've done it with others.
Yeah, well, you just get out and you start doing it. It's like anyone that starts a business, right? They don't have the proof yet. It's just like you get out, you start doing it, and you build the proof. Like Kim, the one that spoke today, right? I mean, she had no background or experience in any of this stuff. Like she didn't have a brand yet, but it's just like you take that first step, you're going to see how to take the next step and the next step, and you just keep growing and growing. So I wouldn't, I think you're overthinking it. I wouldn't worry about that. Like trust your intuition, trust what you feel is right. And just go with it. But you know, my advice to you when it comes, like, I wouldn't finish the certification before you go out and start helping people. Just go out and do it. I'm telling you, there's a great quote from he was a famous coach here in the U.S. football coach, Don Shula, and he said it's the start that stops most people, and it's because, in my opinion, we're all playing, we're playing defense. We don't want to screw up, right? We don't want to make a mistake, and that's not the real world. Like you have to. That's how you learn.
Right.
That's how you're going to grow. So.
Okay.
I think at least I can speak from my own experience. A lot of it is more insecurities, right? Like confidence and belief in my own ability. Can I really help this person? And don't run away from that. You run towards it. So that's what it was for me, at least.
Okay. So you kind of hinted that there's choices. There's something as well as being a consultant.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of different programs. We have several different programs that we do here in ways in which we help people. So the one they talked about today was the consultancy, which is very specific. I mean, it's for people that really want to go out and create their own, business, their own coaching, consultant, and training business.
Okay.
And you were mentioning about one-to-one, and you can absolutely do one-to-one coaching if that's what you choose to do.
What's really funny was my plan was to be a professional speaker. And then I said, oh, you know what? I would mainly be doing workshops for corporate, and they don't listen, or they listen, but they don't implement, or they implement and it disappears in a month. So what's the point of that? I want people who have skin in the game, who really want to be there, really want to change their lives.
I started the other way. I started in corporate, and very lucrative. It was just, for me, I came to the same realization. It's just for me, not where I choose to be. However, we have several consultants that absolutely love it, and they're crushing it. So again, it's just, you got to know where you want to be. And this all starts by design. So it kind of goes back to what I was saying to Mike. It's like, you kind of create the vision for how you want to be living first and foremost. And then we work backwards to develop the executable plan of how do we match this vision through what you're doing.
Okay, so if I have to get back to my day job and I can't be here for the rest of the time today with you, how do I learn more?
Yeah, so Hader, if you're on here, can you do me a favor? Can you take down her name, and then I'll have him reach out, and you and I can schedule like a one-on-one call. Okay. So then I can find out a little bit more about what you want to create, and I can kind of point you in the right direction. Oh, that goes for everyone. So whoever is interested in doing that, just let us know. I guess
I'll get on the chat. Okay. Thanks, Chris.
Perfect. You're welcome, Ruth. Take care. All right, let's go over to Barbara.
Hi. So
how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Chris?
I'm good.
So yeah. So if our voices, well, our hair is not quite the same, but our voices are pretty close because we are identical twins. One thing I noticed, I've heard Bob Proctor talk for years and years now. I have the kind of thing going on where I've heard it, and I've done a ton of personal growth work since, back in the 70s. I used to listen to Nightingale Conant, but yet I didn't figure out how to apply it to my own life. It's like the paradigm was stronger, and it just never really made a big change. But what I've noticed in watching these 3 or 4 days now of all this information is that whenever I've really wanted something, I always get it. One of my biggest issues is not knowing what do I want. And that's one of the beginning things that Bob talks about. What do you really want? That's right. And I wish there was a little bit more discussion about how to figure out what you really want, because at times when I've been stuck, it's been because I don't know what I want. So I just stay status quo.
Right. And it's a great question, because I think this is where a lot of people stay stuck, including myself when I first got into all this 11 years ago. Because I was very similar to what you were saying. I've been a student in this for many, many years prior to that. And it was actually Arash, so the guy that's giving the assignments each day. So Arash and I actually grew up together. I've known him since we were little kids. So 11 years ago, when I was in I was in a really bad place, you know, and not just money wise, mentally, I was in a really bad place. And I actually called him up to ask him to help me. So I was asking him to mentor me, and he said no. He said, look, he said, you know, I'd love to help you. He said, you know, I would. He said, the problem is, you've been telling me for the last 6, 7 years, you're going to create your own business and do all these different things. And he said, it's the same story every time. He said, you start things, but you never complete anything. And he said, you got to understand, until you really choose and commit to something, he said, no one can help you. And I'll never forget that call. He actually hung up on me. He hung up on me on that call. And when you get to know Arash, that's not him being a mean person. He's just always going to tell you how it is. Like, he's always going to tell you how truth. And he's never going to let your paradigm overtake truth. And, you know, long story short, I called him back. I said, look, I'll do whatever you tell me to do. And he actually ended up getting me on a call with Bob. So I talked to Bob, and I'll never forget that phone call, you know, because I was so excited to talk to the guy. And first thing he asked me, he says, tell me, well, what do you really want? And I told him, I said, well, I want to create financial freedom. And he said, great. He said, what does that mean? And I said, well, you know, you say there's infinite supply. I want to earn millions. I said, I don't want to put a limit to it. And I knew as soon as I gave that answer, that is the wrong answer to give to Bob Proctor. And he jumped on it right away. And he said, look, that's your problem. You know, he said, you may know a lot about this, but he said, you don't really know any of this. He said, if you study anything that I teach, the first thing I talk about is the importance of clearly defined goals that are measurable. And he said, financial freedom is not measurable. He said, that's not clear. He said, my financial freedom and yours is totally different. And he said, you might think that's a small thing, but he said, that's everything. He said, right now, you're giving your subconscious nothing to work for, right? You're giving it no real clear target. So to go back to your question, how do you get clear on what you really want? Okay, I would tell you, sit down and write for at least 20 minutes every single day. Find a quiet time, maybe meditate, whatever puts you in a relaxed state. And what I would tell you to do, write out a written description, almost like you're writing a story in the day of your life. Like, do it 12 months from now. Okay, if you woke up 12 months from now, like, where are you living? Where are you traveling? How are you spending your days? And don't get stuck on what you're doing. If you don't know what you want to do, I think that's where I was stuck. I was always thinking, okay, what's the business? What can I create? What can I do? Don't worry about that yet. Start with what you want first. Okay, how you want to be living. Write this in the present tense. So as if you're already living this life, and be incredibly descriptive. Because again, our mind thinks in pictures. So it's not the words that you're writing down here, it's the images that are getting created in your mind from the words. So that's why a lot of times people will say, you know, they struggle with visualization, or people struggle with meditation. And the truth is, it's just like a muscle. It's just you haven't done it yet. But you see, if you learn to control this power, you start to get clear on what you want, right? And you start to get emotionally involved into it. This is the key to everything. See, we're either emotionally involved in what we want, or we're emotionally involved in where we are. There's no in between. And I think most people don't know what they really want. So guess what? We're always going to be emotionally involved in where we are. And that's a losing game, because that means you're living from the outside in. That means your results are always going to control you, always. And I don't care if you study this or you study any religion. It doesn't matter what you're studying. They're all saying the same things. You got to learn to live from the inside out, not the outside in. And Bob used to always talk about, you got to let your faith drive you, not your fears. So for example, let's say someone comes to me and says, okay, I want to start my business, right? But I don't have any money, right? I don't have any money to start that business. Well, again, they're letting something outside control their inside. So instead of staying focused on what they really want and starting that business, we don't stay there for long enough. And this is, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this or read this. It's called The Power of Awareness by Neville. This is, to me, this is my book. This is the one that I read all the time. And he talks about, you know, in there, he's all talking about the imagination is the key to everything. And he talks about, you know, having subjective control, and subjective control just meaning you control what you're focused on, right? You control where your mind is at. See, we don't do this. See, I know we like to think we're in control, that like we know what we're thinking about. You are not aware of what you're thinking about the majority of the time. You're not. No one is, because we're doing this unconsciously the majority of the time. But the one thing you can become aware of is the way you're feeling. So this is why I always tell people, pay very close attention to the way you feel, because the way you feel is going to tell you what vibration you're in. Are you in a good place? Or are you in a bad place? And I'm telling you, if you get clear on what you want, you will never be focused on what you want and be in a bad vibration. Just doesn't make sense, right? But we got to start by getting you clear on what you really want. So going back to what I said, I would tell you, sit down and just write out. This might take you a couple of weeks. And if you don't like something, change it the next day. You know, so again, this is where you get back to being a kid. You start dreaming again, because I think as the older we get, you know, we stop dreaming, and it's, you know, we're just kind of taught the wrong things. So does that help?
You know, it's really, I think it's really about, like you were saying, allowing yourself to dream in a different way, maybe to not limit yourself, you know, what if, and just allow for anything to come through and not feel restricted by norms or availability or money or anything.
That's right.
You know, it's like, if you could have any life you want, what would you want?
That's right.
Yeah. So I was going to ask one other thing. You actually answered part of it, because my sister has a similar thing, but I do have one little thing to ask. I'm currently doing a coaching program, and the more I think about what you guys are teaching, it just seems to me so important to add the stuff that I'm learning to my being able to coach people, because of the fact that as a coach, they tell you you need to create goals, help your client create goals, but yet they don't spend any time teaching you anything about goals. They just give you a checklist. Here's how you measure a goal, you know, and good luck with that. And I'm thinking about all the amount of information that you guys focus on, how important goals are, and how there's so many facets to creating goals and all the things that affect goals. It just seems to me that it would be a good thing to somehow be able to combine all of the goal setting kind of information with the coaching that I will be doing in the near future. And I'm wondering, you know, how to best do that with whatever it is you guys are offering.
Well, I don't know how you can coach people if you don't start with goals. Like, I don't know how, you know, because see, I'll never forget this. Like, we were flying back, I was with Bob, we were flying back from Toronto to Vegas, and I never heard him say this before, but we were talking about studying, and we were talking about, well, we talked about two things. We were talking about studying, and we were talking about decision. So it started by me asking him, I said, well, you know, Napoleon Hill talks about the winners make decisions very quick. And I said, well, how did they train themselves to make fast decisions? And he said to me, he said, no, you're looking at it from the wrong perspective. He said, they make fast decisions because they know exactly what they want, right? And they make their decisions based off of, is this going to help me get to my goal or is it not? That's why they make decisions very quick. Then he talked about, you know, about studying. And he talked about when you study, there's only two reasons. He said, one is to help you get clear on the goal. Like, what is your North Star? Like, what are you really going after? And he said, the only other reason to study is to see ways in which to achieve that goal. He said, that's the whole basis of study. And he was saying that most people just study like they studied in school. They study to gather more, to know more, you know, but the truth is, this is about getting you to do more. See, if you believe in anything we teach, every single one of you, every single person has everything you need to create what you want. It's already there. It's not outside, it's inside. But everything that we're doing here is teaching you how to pull this out, how to go after what you really want. That's the key to all this. So again, going back to your question, I don't know how you can coach people if you don't take them through a process to get clear on what they want, because there's no direction, right? There's no target. So like you can't really coach them on this. And this is why like in our consultancy, when we train our consultants like Ken, first lesson is all about setting and achieving worthy goals. So we take them through an entire process to let them fantasize, think about what do they really want. Because again, that's the starting point, but that takes work. I don't think that's an easy thing for people to do. I think that takes work. And this is why at the end of the day, it's what I said at the very beginning. I don't think people are missing more information. I think if anything, we got too much. I think what most people are missing is direction. They need to see, okay, how do I put this into practice? How do I do this?
That's so true. Yeah. So I guess it's the question of, you mentioned that you offer many different programs. It just makes me wonder if there's something in particular that you offer that might help.
Let's get on a call. So same thing I told your sister. So I'll have Hader reach out to you. We'll figure out a time where we can do, we can dive into it more specific to what you want. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
Yeah, appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, let's go over to John.
Yeah, hi. I just have a question.
Sure.
What should be our attitude towards the Ukraine war and the recession over America and around the world? What regarding to our business? What should be our attitude towards it? To be optimistic? Yeah, what's our attitude?
Honestly, I don't really know anything about it.
How should we view it and to be optimistic toward our business, regarding to our business, to make money and things like that?
Yeah, so I mean, I can tell you, what Bob would have probably said on this. You focus on the things that you can control. Even during like COVID and things like that, again, there's so much stuff that's beyond your control. I wouldn't honestly put any focus or energy on it. That doesn't mean, if you want to help people, right? If there's ways in which you can donate and provide more value, provide more service to people that are in need, I'm all for it. But again, I don't think that does anybody any good to focus. Someone yesterday that I was on the call with, I asked him, we jumped on the call, I said, how are you doing? And he had mentioned something like this. He said, I'd be doing a lot better if it wasn't for all the wars and the climate change and stuff like that. And it's not that I don't believe in these things. I understand things are going on in the world, but it's like, why would you let that control your energy? Focus on the parts that you can control, right? Speak to the light, not the dark. Because if you give any more energy to the negative stuff, like things going on around you, now make sure that you understand. I'm not saying if there's a way in which you think you can provide help and provide service, absolutely do it. But if there's things beyond your control that aren't really going to put you in a good place, I honestly wouldn't give any attention. Go back and get focused on your goal. Stay focused on that.
So I'm a account seller in Amazon. Let's say, how would the economic impact, if I work in your company, how would it impact our business sales and things like that?
Yeah, so again, I wouldn't let anything outside control what you're doing, right? So like, for example, a lot of businesses during COVID went out of business, they lost business, a lot of things happened. Like our business probably tripled during that time period. So I don't care what's going on in the outside world. Like you got to stay focused on what you're doing. So you just got to find ways to provide more value and more service. See, that's why a lot of times, people will say like, again, we're always looking at our situation and circumstances, thinking it's something outside of ourselves. That's why I don't believe businesses fail. I think people fail. We don't look for ways to get it done. We don't find solutions, but it's because we get so focused from our paradigm. We only see it the way we see it. So this is why, like when Bob was talking about the paradigm, how it controls things like your perception. It controls your logic. Well, your perception. Well, like a lot of people, like, again, with all the different things going on in the world, it's all perception, but it's perception based off of where we're conditioned. So like a business owner, if they're really struggling, that's their perception. Are they struggling? I'm sure they are struggling, but they got to understand the cause. They're looking at the effect, the struggle. They got to understand the cause. We're the cause and we're the cure. So again, I would just focus on the things that you can do, right, to improve your business. How can you provide more value, provide more service?
Okay.
Does that make sense? Does that help?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense. Yes, makes a lot of sense. Yes. I just want to have one more question.
Sure.
Can you elaborate a bit more about what should we do after we make the decision, other than we brainstorm the ways that we can achieve, ways to improve our provide value for our business and things like that. What is the next step and what should we do after that? Can you elaborate a bit more?
Yeah, so let's say, for example, let's use Kim's example today, right? When she was, were you on today's session with Kim?
Yes, I was. Yes,
Yeah,
I was
okay.
there.
So Kim made the decision that she wanted to become a consultant, right?
Yes, yes.
And she sold her truck to do that, which to me,
Wow.
that's a crazy idea, right? But you know, here's the thing. I think a lot of people hear that story and say, wow, that's a bold move, which it was. But you see, she was so focused on what she wanted, right? The way that she did it was inconsequential. The truth is, that wasn't the only way. That was a way. There was many ways in which she could have achieved that goal. She didn't have to sell that truck. It was just the way that came to her and she acted on it. So I wrote on the comments today when she was sharing that, when we were talking about decision, I always tell people decision is never made through words. It's always backed by actions, because all of us have intent, like New Year's resolutions. Like a lot of people do New Year's resolutions and, you know, week 3, they've already gone back and done what they've always done. And consciously, they made that decision. So intellectually, we make that decision. But you see, the paradigm is ultimately what controls us, right? So this is why I say it's always going to be backed by actions. That's why we got to use our will in the beginning, right? So we really got to use our will and stay focused. This is why Napoleon Hill talked about the persistence, right? So we just got to keep persisting. So for you, like, is there a specific thing that you're referring to, like a decision that you made?
Basically, I'm in the Amazon seller account. So I'm wondering whether should I depend on Amazon for sales and things like that. Whether should I depend on Amazon for sales and things like that. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. So
you're asking, so should you stay with Amazon, just focus on Amazon, or should you look outside? Is that right?
Will the economic recession impact the sales in Amazon? Yeah.
Again, I wouldn't focus on that though, right? Because of course, like economies can affect sales, but there's always ways to make more sales. So I wouldn't think like that. I would just make a clear goal, like what you want for you. Maybe it's a certain amount that you want to earn from this Amazon business, like what you want to do, right? Don't let any of that other stuff in, but just stay focused on what you want. And then I would write down the question, how can I achieve this goal? See, it's what I said earlier. When you study, there's 2 reasons. One, to get you clear on the goal. One is to see ways in which to achieve that goal. So when you study any of this, like I'm telling you, it could be something totally has nothing to do with what you're building. But all of a sudden, it just sparks an idea in your mind, right? Okay, well, this makes sense, right? And it will give you the answer. Okay. Yes. I'll give you an example of what I mean by this. I had a client of mine who we used to do an event called The Matrix, which was my favorite thing we did here. I loved it. It was all for people that wanted to create new businesses and people that wanted to grow their businesses. It was such a unique environment because it was, you know, probably around 100 people. Everyone had different goals, but they were all locked into the goals. And we spent 6 days masterminding with Bob and our team, figuring, okay, well, how do we do all this stuff? And there was a woman that came there, okay, she had recently gone through a divorce. You know, she hadn't worked in many, many years. She really came to the Matrix to find an idea. So an idea that she wanted to start and build. And she started to talk to everyone else there. And one of the other people there had a business that created it was like a skincare line, all organic, no harmful substances. And well, this other woman, she was intrigued by this. And she was connected to the royal family in Dubai somehow. And she made one phone call and connect. And this lady that had the skincare line was looking to expand outside of the US and Canada. She made one phone call, made one connection. She got 15% off of anything that gets shipped basically to the Middle East. She's earning over $1 million a year just from that phone call. She doesn't do anything in that business, nothing. Right? It was just one connection. But this is what I mean. It could be one idea that comes to your mind that can change everything. The ways are already here. It's about becoming aware of it. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yes.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, John.
Thank you.
All right, so you got another question? Or
No, I don't have.
No.
Yeah, no.
It is, thanks, Chris.
you're welcome.
Yeah. I just wanted to just chip something in, and I wanted to see to hear what your opinion about this is. And
Sure.
that is the fact that more often than not, what happens is we set goals, and you come up with this energy, initial energy to back it up. But then, of course, over time, you lose steam, because of one thing. And this was my own personal discovery, that you really are going to find it difficult to achieve or attain a goal that you set without a compelling why.
Mhm.
If you don't have a compelling why for the goal, it won't be strong enough to motivate you. And like I always say, most of the time, what we're doing is we're looking for motivation without first having a motive.
Mhm.
And I think the motive needs to come before the motivation. Actually, it's a motive that supplies the motivation. So while you keep your goal ahead of you as your motivating factor, I think it's even much more important to ask, why am I doing this? Why do I want this? Why do I want $100,000 a month? Why do I want $1 million in a year? Why do I want it? What are the things? And I think when you are able to ask yourself that question and put the answers down and really own those answers, then no matter what happens, even when you don't feel like waking up in the morning, something tells you there's this reason why you must wake up and go do what you need to do.
That's right.
And it's about, for me, it's about taking the future and bringing it into the present rather than working from the present into the future. I think when you bring the future and it's so clear to you and you know why you need to get to that future, and it's something that just doesn't let you go, and then you find yourself developing all the disciplines that are required, the resources and the connections and all of those things seem to begin to fall into place. But I believe that it's very essential that you determine why. We can come to having this kind of conversations, following this seminar as we have done, and still find ourselves stuck in a rut just a couple of weeks down the road. And that's something that I would wish that would not happen to any of us. But this is what usually happens when you can't find a bigger, each time that Bob's, presentation would come on, the preceding thing is he would talk about purpose, why he does what he does. And I think that's really the key thing that kept him dreaming, that kept him doing all that he was doing, that bigger purpose. I think every one of us needs to find it. It's what is called in the Japanese, the ikigai, the very essence of life. And the moment you are able to find, that reason why you do what you want, why you want what you want, you will find a good reason for doing what you need to do.
That's right. It's just, again, it doesn't matter what it is. You got to fuse with that goal. It's almost like it's got to become an obsession. And I think a lot of times people think that's a bad thing, to become obsessed with something, but it's just a preoccupation with an idea or thing. So if you get locked into what you really want, and I agree with what you said, you got to find the reason why, but you see, the reason why can be different for different people. So I have a lot of clients that are just very goal oriented. So they can set a goal and they are just so obsessed with achieving that goal that they will achieve that goal. Other people, they have to have that reason why. It's for their kids or whatever it is, something beyond themselves. Like I had a consultant of mine who absolutely loved this, and she loved to help people. And she had when she first set a goal, and I think everyone should have a financial goal. So I really do. I think that's a big thing because it's measurable. You can track your progress moving towards it. But she set a financial goal, and I can't remember what it was. I think it was maybe 50,000 a month or something. And she wasn't locked into that, right? So the money itself never motivated her or inspired her. And I was just asking her a couple more questions. I said, well, what is it about this business? What is it that really inspires you? She says, well, I love helping people. She says, I love changing people, like watching their lives change in front of me. And I said, well, okay, so the goal is 50,000 a month. I said, great, let's start there. Okay, I asked her, what are you charging your clients right now? And I think it was like 5,000 a month. I said, perfect. I said, so what we got to get locked into is that you got to help 10 people every month, help them change their life. That's the idea you got to fall in love with. And for her, that was a total game changer, right? She wanted the 50,000. It was never a question of that, but she was always so people focused. She loved helping people. So she just had to change it in her mind to find something that she can lock into, that she could get obsessed with. And that's what I tell all of our consultants. Like, all you got to do is fall in love with helping people. It's not that hard. Just fall in love with helping people. But it doesn't matter if it's consultants or anything else that we're doing. It's again, you got to find something that you lock into, something that you get obsessed with. And this goes back to really getting locked into what you want, which I think is a place that a lot of people really struggle, but you just got to keep working through it. So
Thanks, Chris.
thank you. All right, let's see. Do we have any questions, Hader, in the chat?
Not so far. I think you already answered a couple. But
Okay.
We got Sherry, who's just raised her hand.
Okay, let's go there. Let's see. It looks like Sherry just raised her hand.
Hi, can you hear me?
Can hear you. How are you?
Awesome, great. Thank you for taking my question, Chris.
Yeah,
Hey,
you
I
bet.
just have a simple question. I'm just curious, what's the difference between what you do and what Kim does in the company?
Yeah, good question. So actually, like, all of us that do what I do, like the people you're seeing on the coaches corner, myself, Arash, Bill, all of us were clients. For the most part, we were consultants. Bob was in a good position where, when he was looking for people wanted to work with him. So he didn't have to look too far. But, all of us were some of the top consultants. Bob wanted to work with people that were creating results. So for like us, we're working with PGI. None of us are employees. We all have our own businesses. We're all independent, do different things. The consultants, they are all focused on building their own coaching and consulting business. So it's almost like you're leveraging, Bob and the brand of PGI in the process of building your own brand. So that's why if you saw in the background when Kim was speaking today, she had that dynamite lifestyle. So that's the name of her brand. So again, she was just leveraging our training, our material, everything in the process of building her own coaching and consulting business. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So she's created her own brand, but you guys are not doing that.
We can't. So while we're not for this, right? So when we're doing this, working for PGI, we can't be out there enrolling clients into our own coaching programs, right? It's a conflict of interest. Like, all of you came to hear and learn from Bob and PGI, not from us. So with Kim, when she's working with people, she's working with them directly.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, looks like, is it Matchell?
Markel.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Well, I don't find the button to raise my hand, so I do it like this.
I saw you raise it. That worked.
Yeah, I can't find the button anywhere.
So how do
Anyway,
I pronounce your name?
Machteld.
Machtel.
Yeah, very difficult. You can say Mathilde as well. Everybody calls me Mathilde.
Where are
It's
you
a-
from?
I'm from Belgium.
Belgium. Okay, very cool.
I've been following Bob Proctor for many years now, and it suddenly hit me this few days that I don't have a plan.
Mhm.
Like, I hear a lot of people saying they pick videos from YouTube. That's what I did for years. So you pick there and there. And so it's getting so overwhelming and so much information, and you don't have a plan to stick on it. And that's where I always give up. And it's sort of hit me this week that when I was younger and I didn't know anything about this stuff, I attracted things into my life like in a split second. I mean, I had big dreams and I did that. I mean, one time I said I'm going to walk by foot from Belgium to Russia, and it's going to take me so many months, and people thought I was crazy, and I did, you know. It didn't even cross my mind that I could not do that. And when I got older, suddenly things changed. Like I started to study this material. I started to work in a fixed job, and I didn't like that job. And I came across with the teachings, and I thought, oh, I want to teach this. I mean, this is something we have to know. I want to teach this to my children, and we were always talking about it. And now that it comes to becoming consultant or writing for the consulting program, it's like hitting a barrier. I don't know why. It's like, and I've noticed this a few times, like I'm becoming insecure at some point. I don't know why. I mean, the insecurity must have been there for many years before, but I didn't even know it, you know? So I achieved my goals no matter what, because I wasn't paying attention of the insecurity, or I didn't think about that. And so I get stuck now. It's like hitting this. I know that Bob's talking about the terror barrier.
Yeah.
Not in this week, but I think that's where I'm stuck at. Like I don't get to the point where I get a C goal, a C type of goal, like a big goal. I can attract stuff into my life and the things I know sort of how to realize. But when it comes to the biggest decisions, it's like suddenly it's like blocked. It's like, oh my God, what is happening? You know? And so my question is how to pass that.
Well, I think again, like, you know, Bob did a really good lesson on this too. I don't know if it's on YouTube, but he would always talk about fear, and he would talk about faith and fear. And he said, both of them demand that you believe in something that you can't see. And he said, if you have to choose one, what do you choose? And see, most people will always go to the fear side, but not consciously. Look, we all believe, like we look at something, we believe we can do that, but we believe on two levels. We believe intellectually, but we can also believe emotionally, right? And that's the key to all this stuff. It's like, where is that belief really at? You know, so it could be a lot of things. It can be insecurities. It can be all these different things. But the thing is, like, the conscious mind will always come up with reasons, excuses of why we can or can't do anything. And just understand, we always think thoughts which are in harmony with the conditioning. So again, it's where your paradigm is set. So you just got to learn to, you be aware of it, right? But you don't let it control you. So you just got to stay so focused on what you want.
That's what I did when I was younger. It didn't control me. I mean, it did cross my mind, like, how am I going to do that? But it didn't stop me. And now it's like I'm stuck in my head, overthinking too much. And not posting the feeling, or I don't get fused anymore with the idea because I already stuck in the mind, you know.
But that's it, right? Because I think personally, I think when we're younger, right, we have less, you know, less fear. Like we have more, you know, we're like, right, we're ready to go after it, you know. And I think you can get back to that. I think you can get back to that place, because if you think about it, it's just like it's an energy more than anything. Because think about it like this. A lot of times people tell me, you know, well, I got to find something I'm passionate about. And to me, like, passion isn't tied to a thing, right? Passion is an energy. So you can be passionate about something at any given time. So like, let's say someone starts a job and they're very passionate about it. And then all of a sudden a new manager comes in that they just absolutely hate, they can't stand. So they lose their passion for it. So it changes the energy, it changes the dynamic. Well, again, you just can't let any of that other stuff, that internal stuff, throw you off what you really want. I can help you. Let's do this. Why don't you and I schedule like a one-on-one call where I can kind of find out a little bit more about the situation, like where you're at, and see how I can help you.
Yeah, that's good. And I have another question.
Sure.
I started to translate all this in my own language, which is Flemish, Dutch. It takes me a lot of time to translate it all.
Sure.
But when I hear it in my own language, it resonates a lot more. It's like I speak quite enough good English, I think, but we use different words, we use different phrases, and so it hits me more when if I do it in my own language. And my question is, if I'm going to do the consultant training, it's all in English, so I have to translate it anyway. But actually, I started to translate it to teach it to my children, to my daughter.
Right. Right. And that's what most of the consultants do, you know, because again, we have it translated into, I think, 5 or 6 languages already. The material for your clients, all the training that we do for you is all done in English. You know, but the materials we do have translated. But for people that are in countries where we don't have it translated, that's right. That's all they do. So because you got to remember, it's not just, and this is why we found out the hard way, you know, we did some of the translations, we would hire a company to translate it, but they didn't really study this. So they didn't really understand the essence of what we were trying to say. So yeah, it comes across logically, kind of makes sense, but it doesn't.
I do understand it, but it doesn't resonate. It's
That's
like
right.
If you say in English, I love you. I know what it means, but if I say it in my own language, it hits me, you know?
That's right.
It feels deeper. And so that's why I'm worried about doing the program again in English, because I'm doing a lot of things in English. And so a lot of get lost in translation, or how to say that?
It totally does. And that's why, like all the translations that we've done now, we have consultants that speak those languages help us with the translations, because that's the only way you can.
To connect with somebody who speaks my language, or maybe someone in Belgium. Do you know coaches who are in consultants in Belgium? So I would.
We have consultants all over. Yeah, so absolutely.
Oh yeah. I would like to have some kind of information with somebody who did the program before, and just talk about Flemish.
Yeah, and most of them, what they'll do though, like almost all the consultants will take a global approach, right? So even though you're in Belgium, you know, I strongly encourage you can start local if you want, but you know, we live in a global economy, and that's one of the beautiful things about this business.
In English as well.
Yeah, exactly.
My children for they're now 19 and 22, and so they're quite interested in learning this stuff. But for many years, I wanted to do the consultant programs, because I thought we have to know this in schools. I wanted to bring this in schools, but now I think school is such an old system, especially here. But I've been coaching children who were stuck in the school system before, and all was the same. What Bob taught, actually, like visualize better grades. So we actually did that. We took their school reports. We skipped the marks, and we put a different mark on it, what they thought was reasonable or what they wanted to achieve. And it was amazing what came out of these students, like just by writing down their full report with the numbers they want to achieve.
Kids pick this up way faster than adults, right? Because they're more open. It's kind of what you were talking about. Like we're more open and willing to accept, you know, more than anything. So we have a lot of consultants that work with kids too. You know, it just depends on your goals though, right? Like I always tell people, if you want to help kids, you got to help kids. That desire is there for a reason, but you got to make sure the business side of it is up and running and producing solid income that allows, like when Bob was teaching in the prison system, it's like, you know, you don't get paid to do that. He just really wanted to do that. You know, but he had to make sure the other business was in a good place.
Yeah, no, I'm going to work with adults, and I studied coaching. I do with children, but I can pick the ideas to work with that, and it really works. So when I'm teaching it, it's like I'm believing it. When I have setting my own goals, it's like a barrier. It's really strange.
You will hear that from every single consultant.
Really?
Like I tell anyone, the best way to learn this, teach this, because for you to get this clear in someone else's mind, like that will change your world. And especially when you start to see their lives change and then create better results, like it builds your belief in this. Like we have a lot of consultants that got into this, not really with the intent of building the business. They just wanted to become better leaders, right? So in their own companies. And, you know, it's life-changing. I'm telling you, because you immerse yourself into this.
Yeah, there's
And
only
before
one
long, you
job I
embody.
want to do.
Yeah.
I'm a
But that's
coach
why
right
Kim,
now, but
that's why
this
Kim
is
does
what I
well.
want to be teaching, you know?
That's
Yeah.
why Kim does so well. Like she doesn't look, I always tell people, like when it comes to our consultants, like if you want to do really well in this business, it's not just about being a great teacher. Like you got to embody this, you got to live this. And I heard her say it today, is like she lives this. She has triggers like on her pen. She has like things all around her to make sure that she's applying these principles. And I think this is where so many people that, you know, we just watch the videos and read the books, this is where it gets lost, is because again, it's all great information, it's motivating, it's inspiring, but at the end of the day, it's not about that. It's not about being motivated and inspired. It's about what are we actually living? How are we putting this into practice into our lives? And you know, that's why Kim, I mean, Kim will earn £1 million a month. I mean, she does incredibly well in this business, but it's because she lives this material. She doesn't just teach it, she lives it. And we had another consultant that did incredibly well. And I remember this from one of the trainings. Bob asked her, because she did, I mean, it was crazy numbers very, very quickly. And she had no background, no business experience, no nothing. And he asked her, he said, what do you think it is? And everyone was looking for some tactics, or there's got to be some strategies that she's implementing. She said one word, she said belief. She said, honestly, I thought everybody else was doing this. I didn't know any different. And that's it. It's Napoleon Hill talked about that, right? Once your state matches your belief, right, everything starts to come into place. And that's exactly what it is. But we just,
when it comes to traveling, I follow my dreams. I mean, I have a plan, I go traveling, and it doesn't matter how I get there. I get there anyway.
right.
When it comes to starting my own business and multiple sources of income, then I get stuck. So it's like,
But you see, it's the same thing.
Part of my life, and in the other part, it goes great. So it's like,
but that's it, right? So like there's a block for that side of it, where this, but it's
probably
the truth
because
is
the
it's all
traveling
the same.
part I know all my life. That's my comfort zone. Really
That's right.
weird to say, because I go to unknown places and everybody says, how come you're not secure at that area? Because for me, that's not unknown.
Right. You're just
Probably.
confident in those different areas, not confident in the belief and the business side of it. But we can help you with all that stuff.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
can
I'm
definitely
really
help you.
stuck with that. Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
Well, I'll let Hayter connect with you, and we'll find some time. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Derek Murray, my brother from another mother.
Okay, you hear me?
I hear you.
Something tells me, oh, first of all, nice to see you again, Chris. It's a pleasure connecting with you. Something is telling me in my heart, I can just feel it. Like something is telling me that I should really be working with you first and foremost. Something is like, it's something that's really powerful. And also, is it possible? I have a question, another question. Is it possible that you could work in 2 different programs? Or is it just one different program?
You're talking about from us, like going through 2 different programs?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can, but it just depends. I'm very careful in putting people into that. It really, because again, yes, there's a lot of our clients that are in 2 different programs at the same time. It just depends on what you're wanting to create, because you don't want to take focus away. Like if there's a program that's going to specifically help you with this goal, we don't want you to put in a program that's going to lose, take you away from that focus. But a lot of our programs actually do work well together. So you'll see a lot of our consultants that are in like Inner Circle or a master class and things like that. And those kind of go together. So it really just depends on what you're wanting to see.
Wow. Because I heard you mention that you're in Arizona, Chris. I've been trying to manifest Arizona for like 3 years. I've been there one time in San Diego. And when I went there last year, I was reading that book, Psycho-Cybernetics. I didn't really understand it. It's like last June or July. I was reading it and listening to it, but I didn't understand it back then as like how I understand it now. I understand it now with a little bit more knowledge, but I know I can even understand it even more. And the same thing with Think and Grow Rich as well. I'm starting to read that book a little bit more normal than I was accustomed to. But it's something that tells me I should be working with you.
Yeah.
You already know, you already know I know Kathleen Cameron, and
Uh-huh.
her business is big and built, and she's a really great person to connect with as well. But there's something that's just telling me, my gut feeling is just telling me I should just work with you, because Arizona is my goal. I just want to have a certain type of money, amount of money, and it's being Arizona, and I can just figure out the rest. But I just need like a coach, like a cool coach, and everything that you're telling me, it resonates with me. I feel like I'm in my own way. I feel like it's like
We
an
always are.
invisible door.
I'm telling you, it's
It's like an
always us.
invisible, for sure. It's like a visible window, and like I'm trying to. It looks clear, but when I get through it, like the young lady said earlier, it's like a terror barrier, something that's blocking me. So it's keeping me in these four walls, like. And all I want to do is just manifest Arizona and have a little bit more money. But it seemed like, oh, it's ever going to happen. And I know I have to make a decision to make it happen. So this is some
It's
cool
always
stuff.
us, man. It's just, Bob used to always say everything's a level of awareness. It's all an understanding. It's all a new level of awareness. So like when you said you read Psycho-Cybernetics, it's starting to make more and more sense. It's awareness. Your awareness is starting to expand. Well, everything that you want in life, every goal, everything, anything, it's a place, it's a level of awareness. So when Bob was doing the frequencies, levels of vibration, the frequencies today, and put your goal at the top, like we just got to get your thoughts, your feelings, and actions in alignment with someone that's has the awareness of doing what you want to do. So like we overcomplicate things. We think things are so much harder than they need to be, but sometimes we got to fight through this, excuse my language, bullshit that we all keep telling ourselves about what we can and can't do. And, that's just a reflection of where you're conditioned. It's just programming. You didn't choose it. But here's the deal. Like whether we create it or not doesn't matter. It's inconsequential. Like once you become aware of this information and understand the powers in you, like it's up to you. You got the ability to change anything and everything. It's already there. Everything is just a new level of awareness, a new level of understanding. Like we, in our inner circle program, which is probably my favorite thing to study that we do right now, we do a lot of like Neville and Troward. And like Troward, when I first started studying Troward, like it might as well have been in a different language because I didn't understand the damn word the guy was saying. But the more you study it, you start to understand it. You understand the depth of what he was really saying. And that's why Bob always said he was his favorite author. He said he was the favorite author over the last 500 years. It's just, again, everything's just a new level of understanding.
For sure. I'm going to get that money. I'm not going to even think about it. I'm going to get that money as quick as possible. And then, like I told you, I'll let you know. Still in the middle of my crypto deal. But I want to work with you. I have to work with you. Like, my uncle lives in Arizona as well, and so that kind of like it makes it more because my uncle wants me to be responsible. He knows I want to move to Arizona. He lives in Tucson, but my uncle wants me to have something solid. My uncle's an old school thinker, so he always thinks like I should get a job or do this and do that. He wants something on paper. But what you teach and like Forex and all that, but specifically what you teach, I don't think my uncle really believes it. I believe it because I feel it. It's me. I'm not my uncle. But I just need like, if I'm gonna go out there to Arizona, I need like a good coach, or even before I go to Arizona, just a coach, come up with the capital to get in, and the rest is history. I feel like I make it harder on myself, and I overthink. I overthink a lot, and sometimes I have anxiety that I'm trying to work through. But I was there already before, so I know I can get there again, and I can get there with more ease, in an easier way.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's it. It always comes back to what you said. We can be our own worst enemy, but at the same time, we can be our own best friend if we learn to control this power. Like we've all got it, all of us.
Sure.
It's just we now got to understand how to use it.
For sure.
So we can help you when you're ready, man. So you just let me know, okay?
Got you. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Derek. All right, Alicia.
Yeah, No, first, I want to thank you. I was the first one to talk. But listening to all this, because for me, it's like, I just saw him once, I think, through Mary Murray. He was in one of her sessions. I saw in a presentation, and he was one of the presenters. But he does things so simple,
Yeah.
The thing about the brain, how the paradigm controls. I'm really astonished. And listening to everybody talk, like the Belgian woman, I'm also from another culture. And you think, yes, that it's very interesting to translate it, but well, I think I live in New York for so many years, most of my life in here, but that's true. You see, you have to adapt it. For instance, now I realize my mom was so into this probably without knowing it.
Yeah.
In my country, in Peru, you don't have to be rich. It's part of the culture that you are born with your nanny living at home. So you have full attention all the time. They're always after you, but that is normal, you see. And when my nanny when I started high school, my mother told me, now you have to make time to teach you, to help Lucha with her homework, because my nanny was going in the evening to elementary school, you see. And since then, my mom said, and it's better because you refresh your basics all the time. And I had a tutor also at home. We had a tutor that went to always make us practice with homeworks and orthography, whatever it is, English, which I hated, So because my mom said, when you teach something, then you own it. And that's what you actually were talking about with the Belgian lady, you see. So
Yeah.
it has helped me a lot, that fact. I think that's one of the best pieces I'm going to get from this experience, because maybe I lose the fear to really become a real coach, because I said I'm just like a counselor or something like that, and really step more into it. No, that's what I want
There
to do.
is, yeah. And it's, because like we have a lot of people that, were counselors or psychologists, psychiatrists and things like that. And a lot of them love what they did. They just wanted to provide more impact. They wanted to go beyond what they were doing, and, I think one-to-one is great, but, I think group is so much more effective, because like even on this, like it creates a synergy, right? It creates an energy together.
You get it from all directions, you see.
That's right.
An experience like the young man who just spoke to you also. You see, I feel that, it's my first time I really attend something directly by him. And I was motivated when I knew that unfortunately he had died. You see, but to leave the legacy, because that's something that for me is important. Like when I read the thesis of one of my nieces, I said, oh my God, but this is very bad grammar. And it was in Spanish. And so I explained to her why the thesis was not really exact and everything. So I suggested changes. And I said, would you have it printed again? And she said, no, because it was corrected already by the person who was supposed to. And then I said, but I'm telling you things that you realize that even in grammar. And she said, well, but you don't have a master. He has a master, and it was really amazing, And I think at that moment I should have decided to look for something like this. But no, thank you very, very much, because this has been a very good session, clarify a lot of things, and suggestion of reading books, And
it goes so deep. Like this stuff goes so deep, because you got like even from the coaching side of things. Like Bob was telling me a story a long time ago when he was working with I think it was Prudential Life Insurance, and they brought him in there and he was training a bunch of employees, and their results just skyrocketed, right? And he was doing it for a little while, and then eventually they brought in one of their own trainers to just listen to all Bob's content and to teach it. Well, all of a sudden the results went backwards, right? Because they thought it was just in the knowledge, but it's like we're always transferring energy. We're transferring belief when we teach things too. That's why, like anybody that's in sales, like if if you're not sold on what you're selling, you're toast. Like, I don't think you can be effective.
And also let go. You see, when you want to sell something, I analyze why, I love to bring things from Peru and sell it, but it's because you have to be ready also to lovingly give it away, because if you become attached to it, which is my main problem, I have to get rid of 50% of the things I have, in order to get new things, things that I don't have to touch, that's my goal. And that's what I'm procrastinating. Right. But that's the thing, to let go. But when he did yesterday, I think it was, no, the first class, when he said, when you shake hands with somebody, there is an exchange of energy. And I deal with healing energy, and I stopped teaching it just of silliness. And I believe in that. I tell people, even when you hug somebody, observe, if it's not a planned hug, there is a side to side, because the hug is the conversation of two hearts. So you have to really go into the right side, the left side of the person. Things like that really make sense. He went back to basics in just these 4 days that I heard him, and I'm going to listen to the classes again.
Good. That's what I would tell all of you guys. Just keep going through the replays, right? And I know I think we're doing another lesson tomorrow. I think tomorrow is just a Q&A for an hour, which is really good. But if you guys need anything at all, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. And, if you want to schedule a one-on-one, I think we're going to be sending out an email, and I think I'm going to send out a text too with a link to my schedule, so you can book some time.
Okay, thank you very much. That's a good idea.
You're welcome.
Thank you a lot.
So any last questions before we wrap it up? No? All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you all being here. You got a question?
Sorry, Chris. Sorry, just one last question.
Sure.
Do you have does PGI have affiliates in Nigeria?
Yeah. I have a great client of mine. He worked for the Nigerian Stock Exchange. He was a very successful guy. He actually became a consultant probably about 2 years ago. We have a couple of people out in Nigeria.
Okay.
All right. Do you have another question?
Sorry.
Yes, this is Dia. I just had a quick question about the neon sign behind you. Do they sell that at PGI? Like, can I get one for myself?
No, I actually had this created. So I found some guy, I think it was through Etsy, is where I found it, and they just create custom neon signs. So I just sent him what I wanted, and he built it. It's actually it's a lot bigger than it looks on camera. The thing it's pretty big.
It's awesome. I was like, that's the motivator I need. I'm like Kim with her affirmation pen. I need that sign.
Triggers. I'm telling you, like, if you guys paid attention, she was talking about how she had that thing written on her pen. Like, I am such a big believer in triggers. Like at my home office, on my wall in front of me, I have like all these pictures of all my clients that have created like amazing success stories. So it just keeps me focused on why I'm doing what I'm doing. Right. And also things for my goals. So yeah, I'm a big believer in triggers.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you bet. Well, good. All right. Well, guys, I appreciate y'all being here. We've been on here for about an hour and a half. So thank you for sticking around. If you do have any other questions, you're more than welcome to reach back out. And, if we're not connected, I know some people are on Facebook and some people aren't. So you can also email me as well. And my email is just Chris, CHRIS, @proctorgallagher.com. All right. You guys have a great rest of your day, evening, wherever you are in the world. So thank you again.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.